Hello, and today's videos are going to be three rather short videos, unless I change my mind, but I think I'm going to be three short videos today for me. And the reason there's going to be three short videos is I'm also linking an agricultural unit review video that is 2 hours long. One of the other AP Human Geography teachers across the country, I couldn't do a better job than he does on that. So I'm linking that, and I don't want you to watch the entire 2 hours today. My preference would be that you watch it in 15 to 25 minute or so intervals, and you see if you do understand what he's talking about, and take notes. Write down, jot down anything you don't understand that when you could go back and learn on your own, or that you could then throw them at me and we could have our own review session if we need to on certain elements. So I'm going to be putting that link up for about, the rest of this week, at least, maybe even Monday, because it is a really in-depth review of the agricultural unit. So again, watch all three of the videos I'm producing for you today. Keep working on FRQs that you've not got done. Tomorrow, new FRQs will start popping up, at least one a day. So you'll be practicing with that starting in tomorrow. And then watch part of, if you've got a lot of time today, watch more than one segment, maybe two segments of the agriculture review. And we're going to continue to add more review every single day. I'm going to have at least one video every day where I'm going to announce what you're to do today, like I just did, so that if Schoology does crash for some reason, and I know it has intermittent problems, now through YouTube, you can find the videos every single day that we are using. Again, the YouTube videos are available every day. The agricultural review video, if you can't get that, I'm going to link it on Schoology, but if you can't get into Schoology, contact one of your friends, contact me. We'll send you that link to the video in YouTube as well. So again, that's a, excuse me, that's a valuable video. So I'm going to be announcing these things on YouTube videos every day because all of you have that phone access. You can watch the YouTube videos. There's no reason now that anybody that I'm aware of, I talked to a lot of people yesterday, cannot get the daily information that you need to get. Keep working in AP Classroom. Again, I was highly encouraged yesterday. Again, I got to talk to several people, talk to some parents, talk to some students. And I want to say a thank you, by the way, to those of you who others kind of told on you in a good way that have been helping your classmates. Some of you have been going above and beyond in leadership to provide for some students who are having some issues with technology or needing some help in some areas. And, later on, I will thank you personally, but I do thank those people who are doing that. And guys, the one thing I've told you in past videos, the one thing I know would not be right to do right now is quit. And so I urge you to keep going. Please, on your FRQs, if you say I've got 15 to do, don't go do 5 and just do them for the sake of doing them. Don't do that at one time. Go through these and say, okay, well, I bombed that one. Let me figure out what I don't know. Let me study. Let me figure out what I need. I know this is frustrating when trying to learn stuff on your own. Reach out for help. One other thing I'm asking you to do is if you will reach out to friends and maybe make a group starting next week, and it's not mandatory, but it's highly, highly suggested. I would like for you guys to try to create some virtual study groups. And these can be, if you want to do FaceTime, if you want to do Zoom, if you want to do whatever you want to do, whatever format you want to do. I think the smaller groups are the best. And then we can encourage each other, help each other, and then come back with group questions for me. I think that's probably going to be one of the most efficient ways we can study. So touch base with each other. If you need help, you have a lot of contacts, your classmates, contact me. I'll help you in being able to maybe set something up. So again, please be planning on that potentially for next week. Today, in this video, I want to review a couple items. Instead of reviewing an FRQ today, I want to review some stuff that we've had issues with on some FRQs. For example, one FRQ that we've been doing lately has the question about a commodity chain on there. And we've briefly talked about commodity chains. If you'll remember, we talked about a concept called horizontal consolidation. And that is where a company or corporation takes the process of producing a product or products, plural, and they own every part of the operation from the ground floor or the farm field, you might say, all the way to the store. They buy all the middlemen out so they get all the profits at the end of the day. They also have all the costs, but they don't have to pay somebody else. They buy the trucking company. If it's diamonds, they buy the diamond mine. They have the manufacturing plant. They own a advertising firm. They do that one company does everything. It's very common in global business today to have commodity chains that one corporate group owns. It's factory farming and agriculture is what we're talking about. So there was a question about commodity chains and oranges the other day. And the question had to do with how do you see oranges? How do you see oranges as a part of a commodity chain? And the answer should be something like this. Oranges are used to make a lot of different products. And with that, you think about orange juice. So the raw orange is the raw material, but many other orange flavored products may be assembled together and processed along the way. And that's how it's part of a bigger chain that then impacts the global economy. That's when we're talking about commodity chains, we're talking about here's the final product, here's where the raw materials are, and the chain is the part in between that connects the beginning points to the ending points. All right. So that is what a commodity chain is. And hopefully that helps you a little bit with that part of the FRQ that talked about oranges and how they fit in the commodity chain, just like an apple. Think about how many things are made out of apples. Well, the raw apple is the raw material. But you've got to slice that apple, mash up that apple if you're going to process it into applesauce or whatever before it gets to its final product destination. With that being said, let's look at another review issue, ecotourism. Had some questions about this. We have not talked about it because we normally talk about it late in the year. Ecotourism, a certain type of tourism that's sustainable. Remember, sustainable means that it doesn't harm the environment and it can be used in the future. Tourism, which meets the needs of the present tourist. In other words, people want to come and see something, and at the same time, it protects maybe it's wildlife, maybe it's the landscape, maybe it's the native culture. So it is designed to protect against any type of intrusion or damage done to the local terrain or climate or culture or whatever it is. That's ecotourism. Eco, protecting the local ecosystem, okay? Responsible travel to natural areas. In parts of Central Africa, some of the wildlife preserves, they will have ecotourism basically look like this. You can go visit the animals, but you cannot drive cars through. They try to protect against poaching, all of that kind of stuff. All right. So that's ecotourism. Now, here's where I want to connect it to an FRQ. Remember the FRQ, and some of you haven't done it yet, so you may want to go back and do it. It was optional early in the year, but I think it's really important now about tourism and how tourism either can cause the landscape to become less distinctive, what we call placelessness, fast food restaurants, chain stores, stuff like that, because people want to buy stuff they're used to. So companies move in to make money, and it starts to change the environment to look like anywhere else in the world. But another part of that question was, how can tourism actually enhance local regional landscape that's distinctive? This is how. Ecotourism, where you have a type of tourism where you don't harm the natural. You maybe have rules that say nothing can be changed within these boundaries. You can't bring in corporate chains inside of this boundary. That the money that you spend in this area for tourism is going to go back into the native population, their education in their home language. It's going to go into paying people to monitor preserving the wildlife preserves, that kind of stuff. So that's what ecotourism is, and that's how it connects to a past FRQ. The other thing I wanted to review today, and this is content particular to globalization, as I continue to look at you guys' feedback. If some of you have not did the survey from the other day on Schoology, please go back and do that. That's helping me, and I need a little more feedback, especially from fourth period, where it's a pretty pitiful result of people who've given feedback so far. But I need feedback as to how I can help you. And one thing some people are asking about is, hey, can we do more with globalization? And can we do globalization now that we've talked about all the other topics? So I thought on this video today, I would give you just a little snippet of that And I'm going to be developing some more thorough stuff over the next few days, maybe even later this week, but particularly next week and beyond. So let's talk globalization and agriculture. We've been talking agriculture. You've got a review video to be watching over the next few days about agriculture. So how does globalization impact agriculture? Well, here's what I would say is the main things. Agriculture is trending toward more commercial agriculture and less subsistence. Does globalization have anything to do with that? Globalization means the world is more connected, which means we are going to taste food and know about food from other parts of the world more than we used to. And so with that being the case, there's going to be more demand for global products, which means big business, factory farms are going to recognize that and see a chance to make money. So corporate farming is going to be in high demand, or it's going to be, well, it is in high demand. Also, it lowers prices for consumers, which people around the globe, they like that. Now, we know there's arguments against corporate farming, pesticides, chemicals, different pollution avenues, treatment of animals, that kind of thing. But we also know that this idea of corporate farming is producing lots of food in a global world. It's producing food that it's kind of like global factories. They produce us a product that we know what it looks like. We expect it to look a certain way, and we're used to it. Think about supermarkets. When you go into the grocery store, you want to see a perfectly shaped, perfectly colored fruit or vegetable. And they don't put the things that are not perfectly colored and perfectly shaped in the bin. Now, it doesn't mean they're not good to eat. If you've ever been in a garden before, you know something that looks kind of funny can be just as good as something that looks perfect. But it's that global impact on agriculture. So how has globalization impacted agriculture? It has promoted corporate farming. It's promoted bigger farms. It's promoted more technology in farming. It's promoted more genetically modified types of farming. It's also proposed big challenges or brought about big challenges for subsistence or smaller family farms. It's hard for them to compete in that world because they can get products cheaper through corporate farming. Exceptions to the rule, though, globalization has helped to educate people about organic agriculture. And with that, more people are demanding that. So one way small farms can be accomplished is through growing organic foods. Another thing globalization has helped the small farmer with is it's also helped educate the public about nutritional and economic concerns, social concerns about corporate farms. So all of that is part of the global impact on agriculture today. I'll give you another couple items. Think about when we talked about NAFTA, or the new deal that's been reached between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, that Mexican farmers got hit hard because they couldn't grow crops at the level American farms could unless they grew particular crops to their climate zones, where American farms benefited from bigger markets. That's another impact of globalization. Let me give you another example. Japan. Japan is volcanic islands. That's their physical geography issue. It's hard to farm those islands. It's hard to farm those mountains that are very rugged. And so with that challenge, the Japanese know in a global food market, they're going to lose most of the time. And what I mean by that is corporate farms in China, America, and other places are going to be able to sell stuff to Japan cheaper than Japan can grow it because of how challenging it is to grow stuff. So a political action the Japanese government has taken to protect their farming, because every country ideally wants to be able to feed themselves in a case of an emergency, kind of like right now. They want, in the worst case scenario, can we feed ourselves? So Japan doesn't want their farms to shut down because they can't compete, because what happens in an emergency? So what they've done politically, Japan has very high tariffs on imported food. Now, that makes some countries around the world mad at them, including sometimes even the United States, but they do that to protect their farmers. Socially, how does that affect everybody? It impacts the grocery store. Japanese food prices are very, very high. That's another effect of agricultural or globalization on agricultural geography. By the way, throw this little tidbit in as we get closer and closer to the AP test. One way a lot of people teach remembering factors, like factors of globalization or consequence factors, is to remember a phrase that most people won't forget, and that's ESPN, like the television station, sports station. E standing for economic factors. S standing for social factors. P standing for political factors. The N is the weird one. The N stands for environmental factors. I know that's kind of strange, but that's the way some people have had success remembering. So if a test question, an FRQ ever says, identify and discuss the factors that are social related to, or it just says factors, then one political factor would be blank. One social factor would be blank, and then you start talking about it. But ESPN is one way to know that. So I hope this review section has helped some. Please be watching the agricultural unit review. Also, do not forget the AP Live YouTube channel. Watch it also in segments over days. Your utilization of these channels is huge, okay? Tell me if you need help. We'll start new FRQs tomorrow and continue working through some more review videos and a little bit more new agricultural video stuff over the next few days.